I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need. In the off-white Rari, baby, we run the streets. I'm a K-I-N-G, Westside royalty. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, that's all you need. I'm a K-I-N-G, baby, I'm all you need.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Here with Stefani Baca on my podcast, Get It. And, one of the things that is incredibly important to me is the importance of not just women, but women that are doing things the right way. Women that are working hard, grinding, and becoming bosses all on their own. And there's a lot of that going on, not the same level of recognition that men sometimes get. And I'm not saying that it's exclusive across the board, but I know so many powerful women and amazing women, and I just want to highlight how amazing some of these women are, their journeys, and what they've accomplished in their life. And so it gives me great satisfaction to introduce my next guest today, Stefani, and she is a woman that has been doing all kinds of stuff. She's an entrepreneur. She was a fit model for a while. She's done the fitness competition. She's got a photography and videography business. She's got just so many different things that she's accomplished, and doing it in what I'm going to say is the right way, which is she didn't have to compromise her morals or beliefs or ethics in order to accomplish these things. She did it by working hard, networking the right way. She didn't do it by being risque or, going back to just compromising what her values and morals are. So I'm incredibly happy to have her join today and give her story of her journey and what she's accomplished and where she's going and the ups and downs and the things that have occurred in that journey for herself. So I'll be bringing her on in just a second here for you, and I'm excited. All right, so this is my guest, Stefani, and for what I was speaking on earlier, now we get to hear a little bit about her journey and where she is in life and what she's accomplished and ups and downs and any obstacles she's had to overcome. So it's great to have you. I'm excited to hear your journey, as I've only heard little bits and pieces of it. So now I get to hear more of the full journey today. So just take us through, life and, again, just to see someone that has achieved so much and you're still quite young. And I know you've got a lot more to achieve. So just introduce yourself, let us know, I guess kind of where it all started and where you're at and where you're going. And if people want to contact you at some point, how they could get a hold of you.
Okay. I don't even know where to start on all of this. I guess start from the beginning, right? Okay, let's see. I'm Stefani Baca. I wear many hats. So I am a film producer, documentary film producer, production company owner. I do a lot of spiritual and energy work, but I also have a lot of background with marketing, social media. I grew up in a small town, which is now a very big town of Nashville, Tennessee. But at the time, it was very small growing up out there compared to other cities, But it's kind of just been a roller coaster of an adventure through business and trying to figure things out. And I guess I can't really say that the journey has even come close to blossoming into what it needs to be, because it's just getting started. I kind of feel like that's always been the case, as I'm sure you understand as a business person, is where do you reach the cap of your career? You just kind of just keep going and keep going and keep evolving and changing and growing.
Cap, right? Because caps only come from what you put on it. So, and that's something that I've learned, like personally for me, it's just like, dude, I never thought my businesses would be where they are today. Mm-hmm. And you are your own limiting factor. Like at the end of the day, I've learned it's my own space. I put myself in this box. When I take that box and throw it away, that's when I truly blossom and grow. And that's what I've seen for myself now is I scrapped all the boxes. Mm-hmm. I don't have boxes anymore. And now I'm seeing what my true, let's say, potential really is when I put my mind to crazy ideology of what I want to do and just saying, hey, this is where I want to go. Now, just I got to figure out how to get there, but this is what the game plan is. I may be here, but I'm going to get here. It's just how do you do it?
Right. And so like I started out thinking I was going to be an actress, and then my career took this turn to producing, took this turn to doing bodybuilding industry stuff, and kind of my husband taking a niche on that and just blowing up the industry where there wasn't really much of a market. And then going into meeting a new guy through the bodybuilding industry that took us into documentary filmmaking, and then took us into this whole other route with more marketing and social media content creation. And now here we are starting to kind of dabble more into the documentary film world. Like that's kind of opened up a door, but it started with this passion for the film industry. And never in my wildest dreams would I think I would take all these different routes and turns to get to where I am. Yeah. But I really truly feel like it's just the beginning. And looking back on all those years and all that hard work and all the investment and owning your own business and starting your own business and getting sued and going through all these things to get to where you are today, you know, the roller coaster of events that just really kind of, you know, at the time they seemed so detrimental and heartbreaking. And then you realize, okay, that had to happen to get me here, had to happen to get me here. As I'm sure you know, it's
so when you talked about just now the actress thing, so when did you know you wanted to try and be an actress? How old were you? You were living in Nashville, you eventually came out to the LA area. I know you're back in Nashville now. Like what transpired there?
We're actually in Florida now. So again, this is just taking all these different loops and turns.
Geez. All right. So now we're in Florida. All right.
Now we're in Florida. Yeah. So I'll kind of start you in the beginning. I think, you know, even as a kid, I would put on skits and plays for my family. And I just always had this passion and desire to be in the film industry. And I never really knew what it looked like. And there wasn't much film in Tennessee at the time. So I had to take the theater route. So I ended up doing a lot of theater growing up, and then going to college, I was like, I'm going to be a nurse. You know, I decided I'm going to take the route that my family took. It's stable. Everyone was saying you can't be an actress. 1 in a million make it. You're not, just being discouraged my whole life from doing it. So I think in my first year of college, I said, you know what? I don't want to be a nurse. I think I want to continue this route of acting and see where it goes. But unfortunately, I was in a school of about 10,000 maybe. It was known for the rodeo. It was the #1 rodeo school in the Southeast. Yeehaw, Tennessee. And you know, at the time I was like, I'll just transfer in a year. I'll just go to this school and I'll figure out what I want to do and where I want to go with my career. Well, I ended up kind of creating my own degree because they didn't have a film program, but they did have a theater and communications department. Okay. So halfway through being a student there, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna change this. So I went and met with the dean of the school there, and I said, I think I want to change my career. What can I do, and what does this look like? You know, again, 2 years into college, he said, well, you're gonna have to be here another 4 years to change your degree. And I said, well, I don't want that to happen. So what can we do to get there? He said, okay, come and meet with me every semester. Let's check in on you. Let's make sure you're on the right path. Most students, an average full load is 12 to 15 hours a semester. I had gotten approval with the dean every semester for my final years to take 30 hours a semester.
You're taking 30 credits?
30 credits a semester.
Golly.
So this kind of leads into the story of why I'm a crazy person when it comes to business. And I've been down the route. So, you know, he monitored my schooling and my grades, and he talked to my professors, and they were really engaged and really hands-on. But on top of also taking 30 credits, I was also in a sorority, which never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that would happen, but ended up being a huge blessing. Held all these roles in many different organizations in school, ended up being the face of the university. I was the campus, you know, person who would take people on tours. I was in all their commercials, all their magazines. It just kind of opened all these opportunities where I never thought really could have existed, but it created opportunity for the acting career in this small rodeo town. Okay. Well, then when I graduated, you know, I did it. I actually did it, but I was 3 credits shy of a dual degree in 2 years, which was just unheard of. But I busted my butt. I kept my grades up, graduated in the top 10% of the class. Don't ask me how I did it. And, you know, when I graduated, they had given me an exiting scholarship, which only one of the seniors out of the entire class received the scholarship. So I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. I'm a go-getter. I want to continue to survive in this industry. Right. And I went home for a little bit. I auditioned to take this this children's theater position where I traveled all around the Midwest, coaching and teaching kids, and we would put on a play in 1 week. So we'd arrive on a Monday, we'd perform on Saturday, we'd get in the car on Sunday, we'd drive to the next location. We did this for 14 weeks. And I realized at this point, I don't think theater was really the route I wanted to take anymore. As much as I loved it and it was a great way of expressing myself, I still kind of had in the back of my mind to do more of the film-based stuff.
Okay.
So I went home, I took a serving gig at P.F. Chang's because I knew that they had 100% transfer rate at any P.F. Chang's you worked at in the entire country. And I said, I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to transfer to Los Angeles. I'm going to be a server for a few months, save some money, and I'm going to start auditioning out there.
Okay.
So yes, and that was great. Again, how spicy do you like your Chang sauce? There's all those jokes with P.F. Chang's, but it was a great company to work for. No regrets. I met wonderful people, and I just up and moved and packed up anything I could in my house and sold everything else. And I shipped about 5 boxes and put 3 carry-on bags for free on Southwest. This is not promoted, by the way, or sponsored. And I just moved out to Cali and I bought a bicycle. All I knew of California was Santa Monica and wherever my bike could get me within a 5-mile radius. So I didn't even realize how large LA was when I first got there. And I lived with a girl who I met on Craigslist. We ended up, this is a crazy story, so bear with me. But we ended up, she was a roommate of mine. I met from New York when I moved out there. And she was working with Disney and New Line, and I was going on auditions working for P.F. Chang's, and we just kind of made it work in 6 months. And within, I guess, a couple of years, I became a director's assistant for a big production company out there, and I kind of learned the ins and outs of how things worked in LA on the production set. And one of the producers was like, look, if you want to act, why don't you go to this company called Central Casting and get into background acting and at least get your foot in the door and meet some of these casting directors. And I thought, okay, why not? Why not make some money on it? Well, becoming a background actor got me in front of all these directors, which then they were like, hey, on the spot of like 3 different sets being on 3 different Disney sets, they were like, we want you to speak in this episode. So then speaking on an episode gave you rights to be union, which then now I could go out for union jobs. It was just all these opportunities that started opening and the doors started kind of opening for me with it. Again, in the back of my mind, hearing, 1 in a million make it, thinking just it's not successful. It's not successful. Keep going, keep fighting. And I ended up, what did I do? So I was working on the Jonas Brothers, funny enough, that little Disney show at the time. And they had just wrapped up and they were on hiatus. And I said, maybe I'll take a little breather here because they were long days, a lot of work. So I'm really,
you say long days and a lot of work. Sorry to distract you there. What kind of days are we talking about here?
Okay, so with Disney, love them. They're amazing, an amazing company. But if they hire you on, say like for a featured acting job and they've hired you for 8 hours, they will work you the entire 8 hours. And if they go over an hour and then they have to pay you for that additional hour, even if you only need to be there for 2 more minutes, they will keep you until the end. So we were doing like 12 to 14-hour days sometimes, like 5 to 6 days a week. So, and it's, again, just the game of it. And then you had to drive there and park there and go through security and get on set and do all these things, which was amazing.
2 hours at best, right?
Yeah,
so
going from
16-hour days.
Sure.
14-hour days.
And you're walking, like we were students in the school. So we were like walking around and moving around, and it wasn't just like sitting down, hanging out. You were moving the entire time, which was so much fun, to get to work with the Jonas Brothers and some of the Disney actors and stuff. It was just really a great time.
Okay.
So that went on hiatus. And then I ended up, because again, seafood was always a big passion of mine. I thought, I'm going to take a little part-time job while they're on hiatus. So my roommate at the time got a job in a seafood company in Santa Monica. And she goes, just come in and apply and just work part-time. Well, part-time is not something that I understand. So I'm a full plate Italian person. So we're like 6-course meals, Yeah. So I went in, ended up kind of taking over that little section. They had never opened a restaurant before. I had many years of experience being a server and playing all those roles that I just became like their lead server. And then 5 years later, here we are still serving. So I'm like, okay, this isn't really the path that I wanted to take. But at the time, I met my husband, who was a host at the restaurant. So I was like, that was an interesting little twist, right? Had I continued to do the acting, I wouldn't have met my husband. So you kind of see how things work out the way they're supposed to,
Right.
So then, let's see, midway through doing the serving job, I found out that my husband also did, boyfriend at the time, he was doing a lot of behind the camera stuff, and a friend of ours had asked us to come on and produce a web series.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I've never produced before, but I'll try it, right? So I was like, I'll give it a shot. Loved it. Ended up completely changing my career path. So we ended up producing this web series that got picked up by Hulu. It was the first independent contracted web series to be picked up at the time by Hulu, which, you know, at the time, Hulu was really nothing other than
right.
just a streaming. People didn't really know it as much as it's known today.
Right.
So that was a really huge success for us at the time. And then I was like, I'm going to go to Asia. I'm just going to go to Asia. I've always wanted to go. I took 2 weeks with a girlfriend. We flew. I got a call when I was in Asia from my neighbor who was taking this class from an A-list actor. And again, I can't mention too many details because this ties into the lawsuit part of the career. But I ended up going with her. She called me in Asia. She goes, when you land, we're going to get on a plane and go to Europe. And I want you to help me produce this documentary. And I was like, awesome. I'd never left the country. And now in 4 weeks, I'm going to be going to 5 different countries. Okay, let's try it out. So it was great. We had a blast. We ended up on some of the top movie sets that you can think of, and the big list movies that were about, I don't know, 5 years ago, you name it, we were probably on it. And we toured Canada. We went all over the country, all over the world, and had the best time of our life.
Okay.
Then I got back and I was like, you know what? I'm about to be 30. I want to be in the best shape of my life. So I said, I want to do fitness competitions. So I started doing a fitness competition, started training and doing all of that. We ended up kind of realizing that there wasn't a market for good cinematography in the fitness industry. And these people were like works of art. Their bodies were chiseled and the time they spent into it. And the stories, Stephen, the stories were crazy. You can hear some of these stories of bodybuilders.
So, I mean, I personally know a lot about bodybuilders because I've helped people with those competitions. And thankfully, some of my people have gotten first place in their competitions. I know what it's like.
Right.
I've never really gotten into that yet in anything I've talked about. So now, and in all fairness, when I had to like get into shape, mine was for fighting, right?
Okay.
I did boxing, I did MMA. And so I had to do like 8-week fight camps. So for me, I did have to cut weight and I had to still maintain my power and strength. But, it's obviously there's a lot of similarities between those two, except for I was in a ring with someone trying to kill me and I was vice versa trying to send them to the hospital, which I successfully did most of the time.
Wow.
So, but for you, you're not going into a combative situation here. You're going into, and the people that you're doing this, obviously, doing it too. Let's just walk us through what some of that looked like for yourself, and then maybe one or two of these stories that people that and what they had to go through.
Okay, so you can imagine, well, everyone's journey in the fitness industry is completely different. It really depends on your body and where you are and how far you have to go.
Right.
For me, I tend to carry more weight in my lower body. I'm kind of one of those like Kardashian booty kind of chicks. So unfortunately, lots of food was never on my plan and lots of running was. So I ended up having to run close to the end. I was doing about 2.5 marathons a week of running. I would wake up before I ate anything, which we call fasted cardio. I would run for 30 to 45 minutes, and then I would go home, I would eat, I would be completely dead and exhausted, and then I would eat another meal, eat a third meal, which was going to be more carb heavy, go to the gym, do a weight training, which was about another 1.5 to 2 hours, and then finish with another 30 to 45 minutes of cardio.
Yeah.
And I would do that every day except one day a week. I had one rest day, which some coaches don't give their clients rest days at all, which to me blows my mind. So, and you realize that your entire lifestyle changes. You're not going out to eat with friends. You're not drinking with friends. You go into the movie theater. Everything's exhausting. Everything is exhausting. And everything, even watching TV is exhausting.
Well, and then you start to also develop, at least for me, like this hate feeling towards people. Like, they invite, and I can only speak for myself, but like, I'd be getting ready, like the last 2 weeks of my fight, I'm eating nothing but salads and drinking water, and I have my protein shake and protein bar, but I was like, I cut 30 pounds for fights. I mean, obviously the last 10 pounds was water weight, but it ain't easy. And then I'm going out to like, I literally would give myself like a 45-minute window because I like all your, at least for me, all my friends were like, come on, man, have a drink, have, a little food, like here, just have a couple nachos. I'm like, guys, I'm getting into a ring fighting another human being.
Mhm.
I've been working for months, and now I have fight camp, which I've been going for 6 weeks. Like, stop. And I would just have to
Right.
leave because they're like, they don't understand. Like, the average, more than that, 90% of the world's population, or probably even more than that, don't understand that level of discipline and dedication and work. Look, I don't even care if you get knocked out in the first 2 seconds of a fight. Kudos to you for even getting in the ring. Like, anybody that gets in a ring in a combat situation, all the respect in the world. Like, I really just don't care who you are. Like, you have all my respect, you know. And same thing for fitness people, like, that do the fit competitions. Like, all the respect in the world for even giving it a go, because people don't understand how emotional, physical, mental it is. I mean, there was one day my mom called me. I literally was like a week away from my fight camp. I had the worst training sessions for that day. And I was doing 2-3 workouts a day too, between my kickboxing, Muay Thai stuff, my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then my weight workouts. My mom calls me. I had just finished getting pummeled for an hour because I'd have to fight the boys that were like 275 and up, and I fought at 175. So I'm fighting guys that are almost 100 pounds, if not over 100 pounds more. I mean, they're, you know, there's 8 of them, and I'm going 5-minute rounds with each guy. So a brand new guy just runs in at 5 minutes and just tackles me, and, you know, it's just like, it's very mentally and, you know, exhausting. And I remember my mom called me, and I like, listen, I'm not emotional. I mean, I'm more emotional now that I have a daughter, but at the time, nah. I almost cried when my mom called. I'll never forget this story, man. My mom calls me. I'm at In-N-Out to drop off stuff to one of my boys. And I didn't eat. He did. He was there picking up food. And so I dropped the stuff off. My mom calls me, you know, and I'm just like trying not to cry, you know. Man, it's so brutal.
Yeah.
It just, anything in those worlds where you're having to really restrict for weeks and weeks and weeks your calories, you're having to train so hard. Ugh.
Yeah. I think at one point my friends would make fun of me because I would weigh out my almonds. I was allowed 10 almonds and 4 egg whites for my last meal. And they were like, you're only eating 10. You literally count 10 almonds out of the bag. I was like, yes. And at that point, you have blindfolds on, and you're in this industry just stuck thinking, I don't think about anything else. That's it. You don't have space for it. You don't have the energy to think. So everything is just done for you. You just follow the regimen, you know?
Yep.
But also some things people don't know about when you compete, you know, for girls and for guys, you have to put on like 5 coats of spray tan. And once your bathing suit's on, you use the stuff, I can't remember what it's called, some kind of bite, like bikini bite. You have to glue your bikini to your body. And if you go to the bathroom, you have to pee in a cup. This is crazy. But you have to poke a hole in the bottom of a cup, and you have to pee through the cup, because if it splashes and it messes up your tan, you could get ding points. So before you even go on stage, you have to bend over and show your backside and make sure your tan doesn't have any sweat lines.
That's why they do it. I had no idea. I literally had no idea. All these years I put people through, I had no idea this. I thought they did that because they wanted to see how your muscles looked.
No, they do. But before you go on stage, your coach will have you do it. So they want to make sure because if you're up there doing what they call your back pose, you have to kind of bend a little bit because it pops your hamstrings, which makes the glute separation, and you're judged on the glutes and hammies.
All right.
Things you have to have your hair done, your makeup done, you know.
I know about all that. I had no idea about the other thing. Crazy.
And then you're cutting your salt, you're cutting your water loading, and then cutting it. You're thirsty, your kidneys start hurting. And again, I know it's a choice, and everyone says this is your choice. You're deciding to do it. And I don't regret it at all. But what they don't really tell you is once you get off stage, which I'm sure you and your clients have, I'm sure you're an amazing coach, and I had great coaches too. It's just when you come off stage, you kind of become an animal. You know, you start tasting salt, you start tasting chocolate, and all of a sudden you can't stop. And then it creates this, for some people like myself, it created a binging thing that I had never had to deal with before. And then all of those 14 to 16 weeks of hard work go down the drain in a week. And then you're suffering and you're depressed, and any kind of water gain, you feel fat and bloated. And then 5 pounds turns into 10 pounds, turns into 20 pounds. And then what? These bikini women, they blow up because no one tells them how to properly come off of a cycled show like that.
I did do that. So I didn't have that same issue with my clients. What we did is we would do for the one, you know, in all honesty, I couldn't go to everybody's shows. You know, too many things on my plate. But for the ones that did go, afterwards, we do a celebratory dinner, and the gloves were off. Eat whatever you want. One meal. That's it.
Do you think that's dangerous?
No, not one meal, because it's one meal. Because if you think about it, how much can you really eat in one meal when you've been restricted?
Oh, you don't know me.
I don't know you, but for them, they couldn't eat too much. Like they'd have a burger, fries, maybe a milkshake, but they'd be good. Maybe they could even fit in a small dessert. But like that was literally it. And then we would go into a regimented, now you're going to steadily increase your calories, proteins, fats, carbs. Now you can have a couple of meals, in the week that are cheat meals, and then slowly introduce that back into their diet, but still maintaining a diet that was resembling what they had been on, but now it's just scaled back, right? So instead of being this ultra strict, okay, now we're giving you, 20% the first week where there's a change, there's a few changes and they're introducing certain things. And then the next week, we'll do another, 20%. But, at no point was it just like, hey, here's a free for all. We were still very regimented in how we did it. And then we, when we got to a certain spot, we just stayed there and now we got ready for the next one, and it was in regard, because, they space those out a little bit, right? If you're doing well. So you're not doing one every 2 months, you're doing them like, maybe 2 or 3 a year. For the really aggressive people, maybe 4 in a year. But, that slow reintroduction of things, not just being like, hey, the gloves are off, good luck to you. Because, some people do struggle with that, right? Where they're done. And, for me, I've seen a lot of people who did one and that was it.
Why?
Because they couldn't mentally go through doing more. And kind of to your point, after they did that one, they felt like I accomplished this goal. Now they went and they wanted to eat. It's like, guys, look, even if you're only doing one, and I talked to a couple, I'm like, look, even if you're only going to do one, you still can't just go from here to here. You got to really be careful in how you reintroduce certain food groups and take your time, and it's not for everybody, right? It's just the same thing. Like, I can't tell you how many guys came to the jiu-jitsu gym or to come do Muay Thai, these big yoked muscle bound guys that are like, I'm going to whip everybody's butt. And they come in and they just get mangled and we never saw them ever again. It's just like, so many people think they have an idea of something because they saw, someone talk about it on Instagram. I mean, it's just the unrealisticness. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like, I just feel like there's so much misinformation out there, or these unrealistic ideals that people bring into it. It's like, dude, it ain't not a cakewalk. Just so many people cannot do it. I mean, I've had people that got through the first 4 weeks and they quit after 4 weeks. I'm like,
for sure. Well, you're getting a lot of crap from your family. People are saying you're not fun anymore, and they'll like just smell this, and you're being tortured from family and friends, and there's pressure. There's not a lot of people that really support it, because here you are eating a very clean meal and they're eating something really unclean, and you're making them maybe think about what they're eating, and it makes them uncomfortable, so they project it onto you.
To be strong, right? I mean, you got to be a strong person, and you also have to understand that your family and friends love you, but just because they love you doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart. Right. They don't understand. Like, I also, like, I moved here from Seattle, and I moved here with 3 bins of clothes in my car. Little Honda, 2001 Honda Civic.
High five.
I lived in my car for a while too, between couches, floors, and my car. Getting into, I have a great family. Yeah. They don't listen. Mom and Dad, if you watch this, I'm sorry, I love you. They don't know what this is like, dude. They don't, and I wouldn't even bother telling them, because I didn't want them being like, come home. You have a bed here. We'll help you get back on your feet. To this day, I haven't told my parents a lot of the struggles I went through when I first got here. Like, they don't know I went 2 days, 3 days without eating. Literally, it was I have $20. It's either it goes into my car for gas or I eat. There was no in between, right? And I just look, I got to keep making money. I had jobs. I started my own training company stuff. So I just put the $20 in my car and be like, cool, man, I'll figure it out. I didn't even stop. I was still working out 2-3 times a day, working out, surfing, playing sports, but like working out. You saw me before I got married. I mean, I was 205 pounds at 6% body fat. I was a monster. I am not in that shape anymore, by the way. I'm trying to get back to some semblance of that, recognizing that I'm almost 40. It's never going to be, and I don't have the time to dedicate to that. I know what I did to be in that shape. But, I mean, I'm not like that bad. I still can run with my boys, the high school kids, and play ball, and I can still go fight here and there, at the jiu-jitsu studio or whatever, and I'm fine. But yeah, there's a little bit of like some fat in areas I've never seen before, and
right? You're like, wait a second, that's not supposed to be there.
and it's definitely like I don't even have, look, I'm a dad. I don't have time to even worry about it. I'm like, dude, as much as I would want to worry about it and be like, no, I don't have time for that. Like, dude, I'm a parent. I'm like, F it. I am doing the best I can. I work out. I still work out 3-4 days a week, like work out 3-4 days a week. Plus I'm active. I got my daughter, my dogs. I'm an active guy.
Yeah.
So look, my body fat's not like 20% either, but it's not 6. I would say if I had to be honest, it's probably about 14 to 16, which
that's still amazing.
Feelings, but it is what it is. It could be in the 18 range, but I still do cardio, with the dogs. I still run, but it's hard.
Do you think when people say that it's harder to lose weight when you hit your 30s, do you think that's true, or do you think our time just adjusts from making it so much of a focus more into like life things?
Probably.
Do you think it's really that hard?
I think it's both, right? Because when you're in your 30s, typically that's when you're getting into a serious relationship, a marriage, kids, your career is really going somewhere. So you don't have the same amount of time. Physiologically, your body does slow down. I mean, it does. Like, I'm an exercise science major. I know what the physiological side of that is. But so yes, your body does go through some changes. Typically, you're not as strict, right? I'm not going to make my daughter, like, don't get me wrong. My wife and I, we have our daughter on a pretty healthy diet, but look, my daughter and I go out on a daddy-daughter date. Well, pre-coronavirus, we went at least once a week or once every other week.
You guys were good about that.
Look, her favorite thing is donuts. So look, I'm not going to go and buy my daughter a donut and not have a donut with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to be that bad. It's like, oh, I'm going to have my sweet potatoes and my chicken and some broccoli or have a donut. Like, come on. I'm going to enjoy life with my daughter, right? I do work out and I still eat pretty healthy. Maybe not, like I said, coronavirus has gotten me stuck on some bad habits right now. But, like, I'm going to punish my daughter for what I want, like, and she's highly active, so she has no body fat at all, dude.
Sure.
But she's going to keep me on my toes, right? So I know I'm going to be in shape because I got to keep up with her. So, and I also said I would never be a fat coach, right? Like, seriously, I said if I end up being fat, I'm not training anymore, which I don't really train a lot as it is now, but I'm not training none of my pro guys, nothing. And I'm not coaching high school. I'm not coaching at all. If I'm a fat coach, I'm done. I'm going to find a new job in life and be, or sit behind a computer all day. Cause it's like, if you can't practice what you preach, then don't do it. Right? Like, yes, I'm not a high school kid with 0 body fat, right? But I still train hard. I still work out. Yes, like I said, I'm not in the best shape of my life right now, but I'm certainly not by any set of standards in bad shape. I'm just in bad shape for myself.
Right.
But I can still run with the boys and hang out and, do my thing.
Yeah. Puts you ahead of the game. A lot of people can't run even, Good.
So but my body, dude, I mean, after all this that you've done, I mean, how's your body feeling? Like, do you have like aches and pains? Your body's still doing pretty good overall? It is.
So, when you're competing, like, as you can imagine too with fighting, I'm sure it's similar. You feel the pain, but you kind of push through it, right? So after I competed, I got nationally qualified, which I should have just continued to compete and do a few more shows. But I was like, I'm going to go to nationals. I just chomped on the bit and said, let's do it. Also because I had gained, 15 pounds after the first show. And I thought, I want to lose this weight. Right. So then I did another competition, and then that kind of, I went to nationals, different physique. You put on 15 pounds, lose 15 pounds. That does something to the body within those amount of weeks of time, on top of also trying to go through another cut, as you know, and doing the weight training and the running. And I had a few injuries, but I just kind of pushed past them. I was like, I'll deal with this when it's over. Well, dealing with it when it's over, as you know, you have to recover from all of that. So there's a few injuries, like in my foot. I think I had collapsed an arch in the foot. Like the muscles just kind of stopped working. So
Okay.
running stopped being something I could do because every time I would run, that arch would just pronate in. So I've been doing a lot of rehabilitation on that finally because my husband's like, can you please take care of it? Like, enough complaining about it and using it as an excuse. Like, let's go. So he's been really supportive. I know it doesn't sound like it, what I just said, but we push each other a little more aggressively, you know, it's what we need to light a fire under our butts.
Right.
So yeah, I think those are, I mean, not too many injuries. You know, I don't think it's as crazy as bodybuilders or fighters,
Right.
but bikini is still, you know, you are having to bring your body down to a really small size.
Right.
And if your body's not there naturally, which mine is not,
Right.
it's even more work, you know?
So then, you know, you go through this process and now you go on to the
Mhm.
next, or are you still, I mean, when you're doing the body stuff, like you're not making money for it. So what's your career doing right now? Like, how are you, what's
So
going
for
on with the rest of your
fitness,
career?
yeah, fitness stuff, actually, I ended up working with a supplement company and I was really particular and picky on who I wanted to work with. I wanted to like the products. I wanted them to be actually what they say they were. And so that was more fun. It kind of kept me in the industry, but really our production company, which we started when I was working with the seafood company, again, still doing fitness stuff. That kind of took off for me and my husband and our job stuff. So we started moving kind of out of more industrial commercial stuff into more bodybuilding.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, just as fitness competitors don't have money, there's no money. So who's going
Right.
to pay for the production that we were providing?
Right.
So we started maybe moving up and working with supplement companies who would then hire us to work with their athletes, and then kind of took off from there.
Okay.
And then at the time, this is when we got hit, unfortunately, with the lawsuit for a production that documentary that we were working on. So I'd quit the seafood job because I was so busy with the documentary and other stuff. I started making little mistakes,
Okay.
and little mistakes aren't something that I deal well with. I'm kind of a type A perfectionist. And if I make a mistake, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, is you start taking it really personally and you kind of beat yourself up for it.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, I need to let this go because I'm too prideful in what I do and I don't want to make mistakes and I don't want to jeopardize my character by
Right.
like making these types of like small little financial mistakes. So I quit the job. I said, I'll never work there again. It got really messy and toxic. And, you know, a few friends, because again, we were doing this documentary traveling. I still had these amazing shifts when I would come back to work. I still got
Right.
the money making shifts and it was upsetting people, which looking at it now, I can understand why. And I get it. But
Right.
again, I'd kind of worked for that part and that role. And so I just, you know, I see both sides now. So I just
Right.
got messy. People started getting what some say is envy. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I just said, I don't want to go down this route and ruin friendships because of it. So quit, got hit with the lawsuit. And then I had a friend who was like, hey, Comedy Central is looking for a producer. Do you want to take this producer job? And
Mhm.
I thought, you know, why not? I'll do a little small production for them. And I went in, I met with all the executives. I saw my cubicle. I had an office. Everything was ready to go. I heard all about the project. And then I got a call the next day and they were like, hey, we're so sorry. The funding fell through on the project. We have to scrap it. And I thought, okay, going through a lawsuit. I just finished a fitness competition. Like, I'm getting fat. I'm miserable. Like, I was like, what is happening? It was just this really weird phase in my life and I didn't have any control over anything. So I ended up getting a call, like I think 2 days later, from one of my old bosses at the seafood company. And he said, are you ready to come back to work for us yet? And I was like, heck no, I'm not going through that again. I've been down this path. I'm not playing this game with you guys. It got messy and my character was jeopardized and I'm not okay with that. So he was like, well, we don't want you in the restaurant. We want you on the corporate side. And we want you to do a lot of our marketing for the retail.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, marketing is something I can do. I've got a background in that. I studied it in college. You know, let's go for it. And then I got the job and I realized they wanted me to be like their firsthand production person. So I was making all the videos for their grocery stores, all the videos for their retail stores, all the videos for their corporate side. I think I averaged in 1 year 187 videos
Ooh.
in 52 weeks,
Wow.
which was, if you know anything about, you know, filmmaking, that's a lot of work.
I do. Yes. That's a lot of work. That's a crazy amount of videos.
Yeah. Not to mention that 3 days into my job when I started, my boss quit. So they were like, we want you to fill her role. So remember, I was hired part-time to do marketing, like maybe social media, make a couple of videos here and there, turned into over 180. I was now the director of marketing. I was overseeing staff.
You know, it's challenging because where you've been an entrepreneur in so many ways, you've also held jobs. right? I didn't really go that route. Like when I first moved to California, I was modeling,
Yeah, let's
working
talk
at
about
Circuit
that.
City. No, I was working at Circuit City. I got promoted quickly through the ranks in a couple of things that I did there. But I was working at LA Fitness. Then I was also doing my own company training. And then, I finally cut out, because the whole goal was to be running my own show, right? So it didn't take long for me to cut things out. I was in California for maybe 18 months before I was doing my own thing and just doing my own thing. And so I didn't have to, I never really, I took a couple of odds and ends jobs, but I did security, private security. Most of that was on my own, hey, look, this is what I charge. If you're going to pay it, pay it. I did bartending, but it was always a contract. It's like, look, this is what I charge. You want it, you don't want it, take it or leave it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm making money no matter what. I had private lessons for basketball. I started basketball, all that stuff. So I had all these other little things. And so I kind of always did my own thing and I was in control of my stuff. I didn't work for people a whole lot. And when I did, I was always brought in. Like, I tell you what, I did have a couple small jobs, but I was trying to get like an hourly job. And they're like, no, you're a manager. You're already management. Like I took a job doing security at a nightclub, bar. But I applied just for, all right, well, I'll just do an hourly thing. And I was brought in as management. So I always had wiggle room, I wasn't in that boat of having to, basically be stuck in those ways. And that's been for pretty much my adult, post-college life. So definitely a lot different.
And I, to be fair, the job there was so much flexibility. I got to work from home a couple days a week. I was in the retails there was a lot of flexibility. So I don't mean to like drop financials, and it's probably nobody's business. I shouldn't have said that, but whatever. I'm trying to explain the comparison as to where it was for the amount of workload,
Of course.
But I think, and again, you allow what you allow.
Right.
So I could have easily have stood up and said, hey, this is enough, which I did. I had a couple of meetings where I had said, this is a lot of work. It's becoming too much, which is where they would dangle the carrot and say, well, just give us a few more weeks. We're going to open up the position. Just give us, it's going to lighten up. In my mind, I was thinking the position for me, but in their mind, they had to give it to an upper management senior position.
Part of these issues you had, was because not just obviously like what you've said, right? Like you're going to take what they take, but do you think part of it was because they're like, man, I don't even know how to, I guess, walk down this road, but where do you see the difference in things of like maybe your husband versus you, man versus woman? And not that I want to say that women have it harder than men, but, going back to like one of the big things that I told you earlier, that I respect about you is you're a grinder and a worker. And so everything you've done in life, you've proven through work versus having to compromise yourself, right? Not having to sleep your way into a position or, dress in risque clothing or be revealing. Like your Instagram following, which is huge, has come not from you compromising or having to put things out there inappropriately, right? You've always been a worker. So do you think that these were it's just life things that you encounter? Do you think that there's like men are just better about setting boundaries? Like, what do you think it is? Give me, because you've been in the corporate world more than I have.
Yeah, I don't, and this is honest, this is 100% honesty. And I can't speak for other people, but I don't really feel like I've never felt less than because of my gender in any kind of role that I've ever taken. I will say that when I was a director's assistant, I was chewed out. I mean, completely chewed out from somebody on the set, which was really inappropriate. And I've seen a few things through the production side. I've seen some stuff, have some hiccups there, but never really in the corporate world, at least at the seafood company that I worked for. I never really felt any kind of sexism there. Again, the person who took the job that got it was a female, and most of our department was feminine. We did have a male in there as well, but most of my mentors throughout my career, through corporations or restaurants or production and school, I mean, most of the people who have really pushed me in my life have been men.
Yeah.
And I feel like I kind of thrive well in the industry, in that setting, is because I'm a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah.
I don't set boundaries. That's my fault though. And I think that's primarily because I'm a people pleaser, and I want, if somebody gives me a task, I'm going to fulfill it. I will kill myself to make sure the job is done and it's done right. And if it's not done right, I'll kill myself to make sure it's done right. I mean, no one's going to put more pressure on me than I'm going to put on myself.
Right.
And if somebody's going to try to add pressure, whether it's a male or a female, get ready, because I'm going to be a pit bull and I'm going to chew your head off.
And do you think that's why you've had so much success on your own too? And then when did you finally just cut ties and say, I'm just going to do my own thing now?
So I think yes. I think that I've kind of always been, I'm a workaholic. I come from a family of workaholics. That's how I was raised. You know, I grew up on a farm. I had horses. I had chores. I didn't have a normal childhood. I remember trying out for cheerleading, and I made the team. And at one point my mom asked if I wanted to be a cheerleader or have a horse. I had to pick because it was both too much work. And I chose a horse, you know, and it was freaking, I mean, if you've ever owned a pet horse before, talk about a lot of work. And coming from perfectionist OCD parents who, you know, normal barns are dirty. Ours wasn't dirty. We had like the cleanest, you could eat off the floor in a barn. So I think that a lot of my upbringing has a lot to do with my work ethic side and why I don't really ever settle and why I've never settled. However, when I was working with the seafood company, I think they opened up the position again because my boss at the time, the second female, left that position, and I had another opportunity to do it. And I thought, you know, why not give it another shot?
Right.
I did, and I didn't get it again. But this time I was pissed. This time I took it personally. And I realized I shouldn't take it personally because David and I on the side were continuing to do our production. And through fitness competition, we met a director who hired us to do a documentary, which is now on Netflix. It's called A Leaf of Faith, if you guys want to watch that one. So there were a lot of successes in between, and I had a lot of clients on the side. I was doing social media for, you know, small businesses, helping them do their marketing and building. And I think what was dissatisfying for me was that these companies and these other employers, they're like part-time people I was helping on the weekends. I had so much gratitude and validation for what I was doing with these smaller companies and with these big productions, and people would just be like, you're doing a great job. But then I would go back to a corporate job and it was like, what do you do all day? What are you doing? What is your job? Oh, you posted this. Oh, you said this. Oh, you did that. And it was a constant, just like it was their way of kind of fueling us to make us work harder.
Yeah.
But to me, again, as you can relate, when somebody says something that could potentially jeopardize your feelings a little bit, when you're working so hard, it kind of, you take it to heart, and it kind of continues to repress you a little bit, you know?
Right.
So I think I got to a point when this next woman took in the position that, again, I really wanted, and I was like, I don't want to work here anymore. And I said, I want to do more documentaries. We had just wrapped up this one on Netflix, and I said, you know what? This is the path I want to take. I don't want to keep doing this, but I also had this passion for the ocean and sustainability, and I didn't know how to merge the two, and I didn't know what to do.
Right.
So my husband and I came out to Florida. We figured we'd come out and celebrate his birthday, and we just kind of joked around and said, hey, what if we moved here next year? What if we moved here? Just joking. Well, that little ball that we put into motion spiraled like a freaking snowball effect. And I'd say maybe 3 or 4 months later, our bags were packed in Long Beach, and we had broken our lease. I quit my job. We took a 30-day road trip across the country with our 100-pound Labrador. And we kind of lived our life a little bit. We were like, let's just go and live. Why pay rent for a month? You know, we don't have a job. We don't have a mortgage. We don't have kids. No offense to anybody who does, but we just didn't at the time. And we just traveled, and we had the best time of our life, Stephen. It was, awesome. We saw places like, you know, we saw Utah, and we saw Arizona, and we saw the Carolina. We went everywhere, and it was the best time of our life.
Nice.
But I will say, at the low point of all of that was when we got to Florida. I don't know if you're familiar with something called Art Basel. Are you familiar with that? So Art Basel is like the largest art exhibit in the world, and it happens in Miami. So we happened to move in December, which was right around Hanukkah and Christmas, and Art Basel was taking place, which we didn't know that the city shuts down. So we had gotten a hotel, and we just said, we'll just stay here for a few weeks and kind of get acclimated. But the hotel said, sorry, we don't have any openings after Wednesday. We're like, there's no way you don't have any openings. So then we started looking around and none of the hotels had any kind of bookings. So we thought, what's going on? We ended up having to go like 45 minutes out of the city. You have to get a realtor in Miami to see any kind of building over 4 units or 6 units. Don't quote me on that. And the whole city and the whole association was closed. So we were like, we ended up, again, having the best time of our life to now staying in a dinky motel where we were hearing people like having the kinkiest, worst sex next to us. It was awful. We were just like miserable, and we had blown through all of our savings, which we had hoped to live off of, just trying to stay afloat. Our stuff was in storage out here. It was a mess. It was an ultimate mess, and it was stressful.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's okay. Don't worry. We're going to get here. We're going to start working. It'll all work out. Well, we moved in on January 1st. We got the flu. We were out of commission for like 2 weeks. And then we were like, okay, we're starting to feel better. Let's start working now. Well, then our dog had passed, the one that we traveled with cross country. Oh, talk about like a stabbing to the heart, right? We don't have kids, but that was our child. So it was awful.
I get it.
Yeah, anybody who's a dog owner, you get it. You get it. Yeah. So then we started saying, okay, let's get to work. Well, we realized people don't know who we are out here. They don't know who Mai Tai Productions or Cashew Productions are. So, we spent the first 8 months, like literally thinking, how are we going to pay rent? How are we going to put food on our table? Why are our credit cards just like, it got to a point where we had never been in our life. Again, I'm a workaholic. My bills are all paid. I'm OCD about all of it. So to have any kind of debt at all just stressed me out. So I think that, I'm trying to think what made a turn of events for that. I started doing more spiritual work, which I have to loop that story in somewhere in this conversation. But we will come to
that in another one. This is the first of a couple. But so you guys are in all this debt, you're going through what you go through, and then where do you guys turn that corner now? Where are you at now?
So now, thankfully, my husband, has been doing a really great job. He started reaching out to a lot of businesses. We joined a company that was like a third party hosting for weddings, because we also do weddings. So we had split our company into 2 once we started doing more of the fitness stuff, because we didn't want to show our corporate clients, girls bent over in thong bikinis. It just didn't fit the demographic. So we split it. So we had Mai Tai, which was more risque, more adventurous. And then we had Cashew, which was more conservative, more wedding based. So we started making the approach towards weddings out here, which has always been secondary for us, because that was more something we did for fun, more documenting people's love stories. Well, then the wedding started taking a front seat, and that started paying the bills. And we started getting caught up through doing a bunch of weddings in Florida, which was amazing. We would drive to venues and like knock on their door and set up a meeting with them, because we did cold call emails. Nobody responded. We sent out hundreds of emails. We tried to get and connect with wedding planners and try to partner with photographers. Nobody out here. It's a very closed market. Unless you know someone or know someone who knows someone, good luck. So we literally started harassing them and like knocking on their doors and saying, just meet with us. And then we started offering a percentage, which I don't know if that's a no-no, but we started saying, everyone you refer us to, we'll give you a cut. We just didn't know what else to do. And so that started opening up those doors. But then it also started opening up doors, because they're like, oh, you do film, you do business stuff too. So now these wedding planners and venues started introducing us.
Snowball effect.
You just had to start somewhere,
And that's part of what your journey's been, right? It's going back to the hustle, going back to that grind, putting it in, working your tail off, and now you're back in a more comfortable boat, and you guys are still finding your success, which is an amazing thing. And going back, you worked hard for everything, right?
Yeah. I mean, we were really fortunate and really blessed. My husband's been really working hard, connecting with more fitness people out here, which isn't really, we kind of got out of the fitness side of things and took more of the professional production route with more business based, more branding for businesses. And we started helping businesses with their social media, because we found that companies, as you start doing whatever profession you're doing, you'll see where the loopholes are. So for us, we were providing this beautiful content for so many clients, but then we would never see the production go anywhere. So we finally said, well, where are you guys having a hiccup? And what we learned was businesses would take the content for websites, but what would they do with it? They didn't know how to market themselves after. So then we started writing these like proposals. Well, hey, we'll film for you, we'll do photos, and we'll also give you a 3-month content package. We'll build your social media and brand you. So that's opened up more doors too.
And then, so really quickly, and I know we're running at the end of our time here. So how can people connect with you if they want to follow you on Instagram or they want to reach out to you?
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, you guys can follow me personally. It's Stefani Baca, and it's Stefani with an F and an I.
Spell it.
Or you can, okay, so it's Stefani Baca, Baca. Or our production companies, which is Maitai, Maitie Productions, or Cashew, like the nut.
Well, dude, I've loved our time together, and we will reconnect again soon. And I hate cutting things short, but I have to be respectful of everybody's time. So thank you so much. I appreciate having you. It's been a blessing. And people, if you want to follow a fun journey, I do follow them on Instagram, and there's never a dull moment. And they do a great job also for weddings. They did my wedding with my wife, and we still watch that video on a regular basis. It's phenomenal. They do great work. Please follow her. And again, thank you so much. You're with Stephen Beseda on my podcast, Get It. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. And thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Stephen.
All right, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, and stay safe and stay healthy.